Death to all Crips and Bloods. Death to all GDs and BDs. May they all die like King Von. May they all die like Drakeo the ruler. May they all die like Nipsey Hussle in vain.
There's disrespect. Then there's Charleston White. When he said rappers like King Von, Drakeo, and Nipsey deserved to die, people didn't know if he was trolling or
Fuck you in Tupac. You can't make me keep my name out of his mouth. Yeah. Yeah, you in Tupac, nigga. Dead mother can't hear me.
That's what he said about Tupac, on camera, without blinking. No one made him walk it back. Nobody checked him. Not the gangs, not the labels, not even Biggie's people.
Chris Wallace dead. By no dead mother. And you don't do nothing for the living. I feed the living. Now you go feed the dead.
Charleston White's not just dissing legends, he's clowning their deaths. He's turned funerals into punchlines, graves into content, and somehow he's still alive.
DMX, fuck New York City, fuck the Twin Towers. Give a fuck about none of you New York.
So how has he gotten away with this? How has a man who's insulted Nipsey's legacy, mocked King Von's murder, disrespected Tupac's name, and spat on the Twin Towers, never once paid a price? Charleston White's entire brand is built on that attitude. Loud, unfiltered, and proud to say what no one else dares to. He's said it over and over. If you live by gang culture and die by it, don't expect sympathy.
King Von was known to be a man who killed black people. A man who was accused of killing a black girl. So you mean to tell me he's celebrated, right? You got celebrities who take pictures in front of his mural.
That line wasn't said in debate. It wasn't thoughtful or nuanced. It was said straight, like it was fact. Like Von's death wasn't tragic, just expected. To Charleston, King Von wasn't a young rapper gunned down too soon. He was a known shooter who finally got what he gave. And Charleston said it out loud while fans were still grieving.
So to watch King Von die before the world was an act of God.
He pointed to Von's lyrics, the bodies he bragged about, and the surveillance footage from the night he was killed. And then he doubled down.
He was a serial killer and took pride in doing this, only for the entertainment industry to pick his side and not the side of the people he was killing.
He wasn't guessing. He cited federal case files, claiming Von financed a hit on rival rapper FBG Duck. It didn't matter to Charleston how good the music was or how many fans cried. In his mind, Von wasn't a victim. He was a sponsor of violence.
When I look at King Von's circumstance, I don't say it's unfortunate. I say that was a man that worked hard to die, because he was woken up out of his sleep, wasn't he? He was somewhere chilling, minding his business. There go the Quando kid. He wake up out of his sleep to go bring hurt and harm to somebody and die.
And he applied the same logic to Nipsey Hussle.
And every boy and every man and every male that honors that gang rule is a coward. Nipsey Hussle was a coward.
He didn't come after Nipsey's work in the community or his music catalog. He attacked the fact that Nipsey, a respected figure in LA, died representing a set. In Charleston's eyes, it didn't matter how many businesses he opened. If you die a Crip, you die part of the problem. He made the argument that gang affiliation canceled out everything else. No exceptions. Same for Drakeo the ruler.
Drakeo the ruler, never heard his music, never even heard his name till he died. But after he died, I looked into him and I realized he just beat 2 murder cases. You reap what you sow.
Drakeo was stabbed to death backstage at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival in 2021. It was a high-profile thing that rocked the West Coast, but Charleston used it as a joke. He mocked Drakeo's name, called him a ruler who got ruled by a blade, and told fans that celebrating his death like he was a king only showed how far the culture had fallen. He made it clear, if you die by the same violence you rapped about, you don't deserve murals. You deserve a warning label.
We see he was a serial killer. So at this point, someone should be taking that mural down. And all celebrities should stop going to go take pictures and uplifting and admiring King Von.
According to Charleston, none of these men died with honor. They died in vain. And the fact that cities throw festivals and unveil memorials for them, that's what really pisses him off. In his view, Black America now worships the same energy that's killing it. And instead of pushing back, we're painting walls and selling t-shirts with these men's faces on them. He sees this as backwards. These weren't revolutionaries, they weren't soldiers, they were self-proclaimed killers, and Charleston's tired of watching them get paraded like martyrs. So when fans push back and say he's being too harsh, he doesn't blink, because in his mind, you chose the streets, you chose the outcome, and if you're throwing up signs when you die, don't expect flowers.
Choices and decisions, brother. You was just delivered from jail, and you go come out to the free world after you've been given this break, you've been given this opportunity. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and you still go play killer. Okay, killer, I don't feel sorry for you.
Charleston isn't interested in popularity. He's building a platform based on brutal honesty. And the more the industry tells him to shut up, the louder he gets. By the time Charleston had disrespected Von, Drakeo, and Nipsey, people thought they'd seen the worst of it. But Charleston wasn't done. Because next, he said something that even his own fans didn't see coming. He came for the legends, Tupac, Biggie, the Untouchables. And to Charleston, that's exactly the problem. These rappers aren't off limits in his world. In fact, they're first on his list. Because as far as he's concerned, they helped birth a culture that turned death into a goal.
You win, Tupac. You can't make me keep my name out of his mouth. Yeah, nigga. Yeah, you win, Tupac. Dead motherfucker can't hear me.
He didn't say it behind closed doors. He said it in front of a crowd, on camera, loud, and that was just the beginning. Charleston didn't just question Pac's legacy. He called him out for what he saw as hypocrisy. Pac called himself a revolutionary.
Tupac, man, don't give me no rapper that's signed to somebody. He's the best rapper ever. He wasn't no real revolutionary. He was a motherfucking rapper and an actor signed to somebody.
But Charleston says the only thing he ever revolutionized was turning jail time into street cred. He said Pac wasn't an activist. He was a confused, muscled-up poet who sold thug life like a brand. And that in doing so, he got thousands of black boys killed because they wanted to be like him. That's what Charleston sees when he hears Dear Mama, not tenderness, just a dangerous blueprint wrapped in beautiful words. But while most people would leave it there, Charleston kept going. He turned to Biggie Smalls and got even more aggressive.
Chris Wallace dead. I don't give a fuck about no dead mother. And you don't do nothing for the living. I feed the living. Now you go feed the dead.
To Charleston, Biggie's legacy isn't sacred. It's a symptom. He says people throw up Biggie tributes every March like clockwork, but can't even name what Biggie did for the people while he was alive. That line, "Go feed the dead," wasn't just a diss to fans. It was Charleston's whole point. He believes we glorify death more than we protect life. And if a rapper pushed poison in his lyrics, then death shouldn't clean his slate. Charleston refuses to stay silent on names just because they're legendary. He treats Tupac and Biggie the same way he talks about Von, Drakeo, and others. In his logic, if you helped shape a culture of crime, even if you had bars and charisma, you still contributed to the body count. So no, he won't mourn you. He says if he's holding new rappers accountable for negative music, he's gonna call out the OGs who helped create that lane in the first place.
There's nothing positive about a rapper. Think about that, homie. It ain't nothing positive that you can draw from rap. And it ain't nothing positive that you can get out of a rapper.
And just when people thought he'd said the worst he could say, he turned his anger to a whole city. Because in Charleston's mind, if Biggie were the face of the East Coast, then New York had some explaining to do. Charleston White had already gone too far for most people. He'd cursed out Tupac, dismissed Biggie, mocked King Von. But none of that came close to what he said next. Because Charleston wasn't just targeting rappers, he was going after what created them. And for him, that meant one place, New York City. Not just the birthplace of hip-hop, but the home of everything Charleston says turned gang culture into a brand. So when he snapped on the East Coast, he took everyone with him.
DMX, New York City, the Twin Towers. Give a fuck about none of you New York.
This wasn't just him being reckless. It was part of a larger rant Charleston delivered on live stream, where he claimed New York has always been protected, celebrated, untouchable. He says NY gave the world gangster rap, but never had to answer for the damage it caused, so he tore the pedestal down. First up was DMX. Charleston didn't attack him for a personal reason. He didn't need one. In his mind, DMX was just another celebrated symbol of dysfunction.
DMX,
That line came immediately after Charleston insulted Biggie, and before he spiraled into attacks on 9/11s and Puerto Ricans. There was no context about addiction, no compassion for DMX's battles, just a cold declaration. Another fallen New York icon not worth mourning. Then came Big Pun. Charleston's problem with him, his identity.
Big Pun!
He wasn't criticizing Pun's lyrics, legacy, or reputation. He was drawing racial lines, calling out what he saw as outsiders being celebrated in a culture that often forgets its own. Charleston made it clear, if you're from New York and got love in hip-hop, he's coming for you. Then came the moment nobody expected. He stepped beyond rap and spit on the most sacred American tragedy of the last 50 years.
The 9/11 victims! The Twin Towers!
The insult wasn't random, it followed a pattern. Charleston had just attacked black rappers who died violently, and people told him he was too harsh. So now, he wanted to prove a point. Y'all cry for white buildings and rich people who died, but you don't cry for us. Not for kids in Chicago, not for mothers in Dallas. To Charleston, if America can mourn one tragedy but ignore another, he'll reject both. It was his most extreme way of forcing attention. And just when it seemed like he couldn't go lower, he went for Eric Garner, the black man choked by NYPD. The man whose dying words, "I can't breathe," became a global rallying cry.
When they killed Eric Garner, I didn't give a about Eric Garner. I thought Eric Garner was a big old weak New York that let the police kill him. Throw his hands up. Weak ass.
He said Garner should have fought back, that dying over selling Lucy's on a sidewalk didn't make him a victim. It made him soft. Charleston's audience, who had sat through his attacks on rappers and gang culture, began to turn on him. One viral comment read, "You said Von. Okay, you said Tupac." We flinched. But Eric Garner, you spit on your own people. But Charleston wasn't done.
They can suck my New York! The Statue of Liberty can suck it!
That line came out of nowhere. No setup, no segue. Just another American symbol Charleston decided had no meaning. To him, if liberty never protected black families, the statue that represents it deserves no respect. Then, just to keep humiliating New York, he added unnecessary names to the fire.
LL Cool J, Fat Joe.
Neither of them had mentioned him. Neither were trending. But Charleston didn't need a reason. He was setting New York on fire just to prove he could, and daring someone to respond. And then to close out the rant, he dropped something so disturbing it had no meaning at all.
I pray in the name of Jesus, man, half our daughters get a yeast infection this summer from swimming in them white folks swimming pools before they even get periods.
No gang reference, no cultural critique, just filth and attention. Then he logged off, and just like every other time, he faced no real consequence. No one from New York stepped in, no one confronted him face to face, no rapper called him out in person, no gang moved. Charleston had insulted the dead, humiliated a city, mocked a tragedy, and disrespected victims. And the result? More views, more interviews, more clips going viral. Because Charleston wasn't just going after people. Charleston had just disrespected New York, 9/11's victims, Big Pun, and DMX, all in the same breath. But what came next was worse. Because instead of backing off when the death threats started, he targeted the one group everybody in hip-hop knows not to test, the gangs. And not just vaguely, he said their names, laughed at their dead, then picked up his phone and called the police. No subliminals, no satire. Charleston White told Crips, Bloods, GDs, BDs, and every set in between that they were the real enemy. He has called gangs terrorists, said they've done more damage to black communities than any outside force. And when gang members started threatening to check him, Charleston went straight to Instagram Live and snitched, proudly.
My name is Charleston White. I'm a victim of a crime by a guy of a rolling 50 Crip, baby OG baby Snaps. He got a cell phone in prison and he's making threats to victims via social media.
He gave the gang name, the alias, the prison, didn't blink, didn't look over his shoulder. Charleston White didn't just say he wasn't scared, he proved it by going public with every name that came at him. According to him, there's no more no snitching, there's only survival. And Charleston says he's not dying for a set he never claimed. But what makes this different from past beefs is the way he keeps pushing the line. When people questioned why he was coming for black gangs so hard, Charleston said the quiet part out loud.
Jason Dixon line was a slave.
Every black person have been oppressed by the Crips and the Bloods.
That wasn't exaggeration. That's his entire point. He believes gang culture oppresses more black lives than the police, the system, or even slavery's modern version. And now that he's not in the streets, he's made it his life's mission to expose it. Charleston says the problem isn't just the violence, it's the way gangs are still respected, still honored, still feared. He's made it clear he doesn't fear them. And if they want to prove him wrong, he says they know where he's at. That level of confidence would normally come with a target on your back. But nothing's happened to him. Not yet. And that's what has people asking, how is this man still alive? Some believe he's under federal protection. Others say the internet changed the game, that people aren't sliding, they're screen dash recording dot. But there have been close calls. He's clashed with Crips on live stream, gotten threats mid-interview. In one moment, when the threats got specific, Charleston started naming old gang wars to make it worse. He told a Crip affiliate that he remembered when the Mexicans put a green light on them, reminding them of a time they were hunted. And that's the difference. Charleston doesn't just insult, he digs up history and turns it into content. He mocks the uniforms, the flags, the codes. And when they threaten him, he doesn't fold. He files paperwork. It's not just defiance, it's exposure. Charleston is saying, if you were really as powerful as people think, I wouldn't be here. But he is. Still streaming, still speaking, still standing. By now, Charleston White had disrespected gangs, dead rappers, entire cities, and still walked around untouched. But when he turned his mouth toward the grieving families, especially the mothers, it stopped feeling like entertainment. That's when he said,
Go on. And hey, listen to this. And his mama too.
Vaughn's mom wasn't in the streets. She wasn't giving interviews. She wasn't provoking anybody. But Charleston dragged her anyway, for nothing more than trying to mourn her son. Then he doubled down.
King Vaughn ain't gonna do nothing. Y'all ain't done nothing to little man, I'll King Vaughn right now. Piss on his grave. King Vaughn. That killer. And that to kill black people.
That was when even people who hated O'Block stepped back. It wasn't just about gang culture anymore. It was about common decency. And Charleston had no use for that either. But even with all the outrage, when the time came to face someone from Vaughn's circle in person, it didn't go how people expected. At an event in 2022, Charleston crossed paths with 600 Breezy, Vaughn's homie and a known Chicago name. Fans thought something was finally about to go down. Instead,
You're telling 600 Breezy, yo, I say a lot of online. It don't necessarily mean.
Nah, I ain't telling him nothing. I say, I'm gonna keep talking about King Von. Well, you making money off his name. He never made $1 off his name. I talk on a non-monetized YouTube channel.
Breezy later responded, but by then, Charleston had already spun it. He went back on live laughing about it, turning it into content. The memes flew. People started calling him untouchable, not because he was strong, but because no one ever did anything. He disrespected Vaughn, mocked his mom, then stood face to face with one of Vaughn's guys, and walked away untouched. This is what Charleston White does. He doesn't just talk, he provokes. He humiliates rappers, mocks their mothers, and spits on everything the streets call sacred. And he's made a career out of doing it without paying the price. From Vaughn to Breezy, from the dead to the living, Charleston has said things that should have gotten him canceled, or worse. But instead, his clips go viral, his lives hit 6 figures, and the same culture he claims to hate keeps giving him more attention. You can say he's lucky. You can say he's protected. Or maybe the truth hurts too much for anyone to handle it head on. Because at the end of the day, Charleston White didn't just humiliate dead rappers. He exposed how much people let death override accountability, and how easy it is to confuse fame with legacy. But if there's one thing that's clear, whether you hate him or not, nobody touched him. And that might be the wildest part of all. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Catch you next time, and bye.